Hello everyone. Today let's talk about monkeypox. On May 7th, 2022, the United Kingdom reported to the World Health Organization since the first confirmed case of monkeypox has been found. More than 10,000 cases of infection have been found in 60 more countries for more than 2 months. This spread is very fast, but in fact, it is known that its later cases of infection have no relationship with the first case in UK. The most interesting thing is that each infection has its own source of infection. The first case of this person was a tourist in Nigeria. He had already become ill in Nigeria. After returning to the UK, he was immediately isolated and quarantined. And all close contacts have also been tracked. None of the close contacts were infected. At present, it is known that more than 80% of the infected people are coming from Europe. There are very few cases and only individual cases in Asia. The countries with the most infections in the world are Spain, Germany, the United Kingdom, and the United States. More than 60% of people have been infected in these 4 countries. There is a big difference between monkeypox and the COVID-19. Monkeypox is a kind of infectious disease that has been known before, while the COVID-19 is a brand new infectious disease. Monkeypox was first discovered in 1958, when scientists studied in polio vaccine in the laboratory in Denmark for a batch of monkeys imported from Singapore. As a result, some blisters had been found on monkey skin. A new type of pox virus was found in the laboratory test, named as monkeypox. Although it is called monkeypox, monkey is not the natural host of virus. The natural host of this thing is unknown at present. It is guessed that it is an African rodent. Animals are also African mice, squirrels, and woodchucks. These things, it is possible that monkeys were bitten by mice and infected with this disease. They get infected, get sick, just like humans, and get smallpox. There are many kinds of pox virus, such as cowpox, camelpox, sheeppox, rabbitpox, pigpox, and variola. One of the most special viruses is smallpox, variola. Because smallpox has no natural host, it is only transmitted between humans, and it is unknown where coming from. However, smallpox is now gone in the world, but there are other poxes. The first monkeypox case of human beings appeared in the Congo in 1970. Since then, some monkeypox infection cases have been found in Africa every year. But this disease does not exist outside Africa at all. It is just a disease inherent in Africa. Last time, a large-scale infection of monkeypox was found outside Africa in 2003. Someone in the United States imported a batch of pigs like groundhogs from Africa. As a result, local pigs in the United States were infected. The person who bought the pet was bitten by these pets. A child was bitten and the family members were infected, but at the end, totally more than 40 people were infected and the case was over. No people died in this case. Now outside Africa, no deaths have been found. After that, another large-scale infection broke out in the UK in May this year. At present, more than 10,000 people have been infected and the situation have not yet been controlled. There are actually 2 types of monkeypox. One is called Congo monkeypox and the other is called West African monkeypox. Congo monkeypox much more severe than West African monkeypox. It's more pathogenic and has a higher fatality rate. According to the World Health Organization statistics, the fatality rate of Congo monkeypox is 10.6%, while the highest fertility rate of West African monkeypox is just 3.6%. West African monkeypox is popular all over the world, but not the Congo monkeypox. It is a kind of monkeypox that is not so pathogenic and lethal. You may see some pictures of monkeypox on the internet. You will have so-called big monkeypox all over your body. That is severe Congo monkeypox, not that Western African monkeypox. It's just a few poxes, and some even get a single pox and it's done. Congo monkeypox is indeed horrible. In Congo, monkeypox has an incubation period of 1 to 3 weeks after infection. So if you want to control it through isolation, it usually takes more than 3 weeks to isolate. After the incubation period, there will be early symptoms, including fever, headache, muscle aches, general body weakness, then swollen limbs, nose, and finally a pock-like rash on the skin, which will appear near your wound. For example, if you are bitten by something, there will be small acne near the wound, and then it will appear on the hands, feet, and many people on the face. Usually it would be very itchy, but not too painful. As for monkeypox, it is different from herpes zoster, shingles. Shingles grows along the nerves and it is very painful. If monkeypox is not serious, self-healing usually occurs after 2 to 3 weeks. Monkeypox is completely non-contagious once it's gone. Monkeypox will leave scars on the place where the acne occurs, so it is very scary to grow on the face. At present, it has been found that monkeypox infected persons have an obvious feature. That is, more than 99% of infected persons are male. At present, among the unknown female infected persons, there is one case in France, one case in the United Arab Emirates, 2 suspected cases in South Korea are female, and the rest are all male. Monkeypox is mainly transmitted through body fluids, blood, mucous membranes, and wounds, so the transmission route is very limited, such as a person being bitten by a sick animal. It is possible to be infected and also possible to touch the blood and body fluids of infected animals or people with wounded hands. Also, the pox on his skin will be contagious if touching it. Other normal contacts will not be contagious. Then, in this large-scale outbreak, 2 relatively special infection routes have been found, which were not known before. These 2 routes can also be contagious. Many medical staff were infected this time because they contacted quilts and mattresses covered by infected people. The quilts and bed sheets used by the hospital are all linen. Linen has antibacterial effect. However, the flaxseed beaks on the crust. If they get on these things, are contagious. When the nurses or workers take it to wash and clean up, if there is a wound on the hand or body, they will be easily infected. Then the linen material, and the more common ones, are the bed sheets in the hotel, which are generally linen made. Therefore, after this incident broke out, like some hotels, it will be handled more strictly. The treatment is, don't touch it directly with your hands. It's better to wear gloves, then it doesn't matter after washing it off. In addition, a transmission route that has not been paid much attention to before is found this time through sexual intercourse. It is currently known that this sexual intercourse is not mainly transmitted between men and women, but between men and men, which is the main cause. In this situation, it is emphasized that it does not mean the disease does not infect women, but that most of the current infected people are male. Also, at present, the possibility of aerosol infection cannot be completely denied, which means that a person may be infected by droplets. But the distance of this droplet infection is much closer than that of the COVID-19 person. That means two people who are possibly contagious must talk face to face. So when it comes to this, you may feel a little bit odd. Since this disease is not so easily contagious, why did monkeypox spread to more than 60 countries and more than 10,000 people in such a short period of time? Now experts are also paying close attention to this matter. How did it spread? One of the reasons why monkeypox may not be infected on a large scale is that monkeypox has therapeutic drugs. It doesn't matter if you take drugs first or the drugs later. There are medicines and vaccines for monkeypox. There are 2 monkeypox treatments in the United States, but most are available only there. So in fact, most countries still do not have drugs, but most countries have vaccines, because the smallpox vaccine is effective against this monkeypox. Vaccination after infection is also effective for this disease. If the vaccine is injected within 4 days after infection, there is a high possibility of preventing the onset of symptoms and preventing acne. In fact, it does not mean that the infection can be known in advance, but it is specifically aimed at this close contact. Someone will become ill, and if you are close contact with him, you can quickly get vaccinated, and you may not become ill. Vaccination within 14 days can effectively prevent severe disease. In fact, this disease, monkeypox, does look quite scary. Now there is a vaccine, so monkeypox is actually relatively easy to control. This is also a major reason why there are no deaths outside Africa. It is said that the United States now has a smallpox vaccine stockpile of 100 million. In addition, in 2019, the United States developed a new smallpox vaccine called JYNNEOS. This new vaccine is better than the old smallpox vaccine. When the old smallpox vaccine is administered, there are many kinds of reactions: fever, discomfort, and even acne. The new vaccine will not have side effects. Besides, how many smallpox vaccine reserves Japan has now is not known and has not been disclosed. However, it is said that there should be a reserve of about half the population, which is 60 million doses. However, this cannot be taken out to give everyone a preventive injection. It is because this reserve is mainly used to prevent terrorist attacks. That is, if someone uses smallpox attack human beings again, these reserves can be used. In addition, most of the old people are vaccinated against smallpox, and it is said that people under the age of 50 in the United States do not have vaccination. The time of final vaccination varies from country to country. Smallpox disappeared in 1980, so people born in the 1980s are basically not vaccinated. Now let's summarize. Although monkeypox is a disease that you may not have heard of, it is not a new disease. It has already existed, and there are corresponding drugs and vaccines. Besides, Monkeypox is not mainly transmitted through droplets. So overall, there is no need to worry about that so much. However, in the final analysis, it is also a kind of smallpox virus. Once infected, it is still very painful. After acne breakouts, it is painful and itchy, and you may leave scars. If you have an underlying disease, there is a possibility of severe disease, especially if you have an immune functional disease such as HIV. The possibility of severe disease is very high. So if you are not infected, you are happy so much, aren't you?